Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's your Rota Jill again. And I know that a lot of time when first-time home buyer or seasoned home buyers, they look at the inspection report and get super nervous. In fact, there's a lot of items on the inspection report are not as that serious as it seems. So today I have invited one of my trusted inspector, Mr. Vi Tran from Golden Scope. He will explain to you some of the things that we may think that, oh, it's too serious. Let's walk away. He will explain some of the things on the inspection report for you, as well as answer some of my questions on about the inspection. So let's dive in. V, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Vi Tran. I work with Golden Scope Inspection Service. We are a multi-inspector company. We done more than 10,000 homes in Houston area, and we've been in the business more than 12 years. So we can provide you a very detailed inspection report and throughout Houston area.
That sounds really good. And personally, I have done a lot of businesses with V here, and our buyers love V because of the detailed reports that he provided and the level of service that we received. So V, are you ready for the first question?
Let's get it on.
Perfect. Okay, so when a buyer looks at a home, what should they pay attention to? Now, given they haven't done the inspection or anything, they just come and look at this home to see if they can buy it. What should they look for?
Most of the buyer, when they come look for the house, they look for the beautiful paint jobs, the new countertop, the new kitchens, new appliance, new bathroom. But I mean, a lot of buyer, they forgot to look at, the ugly part of it is what we look for, like the foundation of the home, the roof, and the exterior siding, any point of water intrusions. We look for the AC. We actually go to the attic and stuff, look for the ugly stuff in the attic. So we want to give you what you cannot see, but we'll give you what we see, that down the road, you don't have to spend extra money after closing to fix that.
So, if you were buying a home yourself, what would concern you the most?
Well, being in Houston's, majority of the soil in Houston are clay, so they do expand and contract a lot. Therefore, the foundation movement quite often. So I would say foundation will be the most important. After that will be the roof coverings, because there's a lot of hail and rain, excessive winds. Anything can happen in Houston for the roof coverings. And after that is the AC unit. Because we are living in an area that's generally pretty hot, so the AC required to be working kind of more than any other state to keep us cool.
So let me dive into your answer a little bit. You mentioned the foundation. So what exactly that we need to look for in the foundation?
So the most common foundation issue we found is, of course, foundation settlements. We actually do use compute levels to measure the foundations. That is one of the tools we use. Besides, Beside that, we also look for many other evidence to conclude that if that house have any serious foundation movement, to surrender our expert opinion to the buyer. So the foundation wise, we look for any crack on the brick veneers, crack on the drywall. Those are the two common items that any buyer or realtor can see. But what we're actually looking for is any separation on the windows, separation in the attic, the rafters, at the corner of the house. We call it the freeze board. We see that any separations, misalignments, and also the foundation measurement will let us know how much settlement, how much lower one part of the house compared to the reference point or to the other part of the house. So those, all of those evidence will give us a very good idea of how the house is performing in, foundation wise.
Okay, so window wise, we should check if the windows open and close smoothly, right? If it's stuck, then there's definitely some signs of foundation. How about cracks? Like, are all cracks equal? Should we just look at a crack and be like, oh, that's definitely a foundation issue?
Very good question, Ju. For cracks, why there's a lot of time, even when you go to like a new house, even less than 1 year, you see some cracks. Cracks always appear on the drywall. Those drywall, sometimes we see a crack like a straight line or a horizontal line. Those we consider those more like cosmetic. The reason is that there's some minor movement, minor settlements, or even with constructions. And those cracks is just normal wear and tear. What happens is that they crack at the joint of two pieces of drywall or sheetrock put together. So those, you see any straight line cracks, I would say those are more cosmetic. For us, we're looking for any diagonal cracks on top of any openings, such as door and windows. When a crack is diagonal, this side, that side, those are likely an indication of foundation movement.
Got it. Got it. What about the roof? I know last week, me and V has an inspection together, and the roof to me was a goner because it was 17 years. However, we look at it and say there's still definitely another 5 years to that roof. What are the signs that we look for when we look at a roof? Like, besides the age that is closed by the seller.
The age that one is closed by the seller can be like a small factor to justify the roof. However, it's best that we walk on the roof or we get our ladder as close as possible to the roof, to the shingles. Take a closer look because some of that shingle might be new, but then they have a lot of hail damage that naked eye or far away you cannot see, or maybe the seller not even aware of that. So it's always best solution is try to get as close as possible to look at the shingles to justify not the age, but how much longer it can be in service. And usually when you walk around in Houston neighborhood, you see any roof covering have some like shiny spot around the perimeter of the shingles. That's usually a good indication that the abrasion coat of the shingle is worn out and they start exposing the fiberglass. So that's a good indication that the roof likely need to be replaced.
Oh, wow. Okay, very, very good to hear. So what issues do you see that sellers or agents tend to downplay but are actually serious? Say someone is repairing their house for sale and they see that problem and they think, oh, it's no big deal. But then you come in as an inspector and think, oh no, that's a big problem. We need to address that.
That's a very tough question because there are so many,
Yeah.
so many things that the seller or the listing agent can, hide it or direct the buyer to away from it.
Well, what do you see most common?
I would say the most common is where they have a little bit of water damage or water leaks on the drywall and stuff. And they tend to paint it over. But once you have water's contact and you don't treat the source of the water, intrusions, continual water intrusion will create water damage to the drywall, to the floor, or baseboard, or ceilings. More importantly, is continuous water intrusion will lead to organic substance. So once you have organic substance growing there, you need specialized like mold inspector to analyze it.
Just had another interview with a mold specialist here too. I'm gonna link it at the end of this video. But good point for bringing that up because water, moisture is the source for mold to grow, and if we don't address it, right away or treat it correctly, it can be damaged. It can be costly later.
Correct.
So what does a home inspection not cover that buyers usually assume it does?
A general home inspection cover the general structure of the property, such as foundation, grading, roof, exterior wall, interior wall, floor, ceiling, attic, AC, electrical, plumbing, and appliance. Or sometimes I also cover sprinkler. What we don't cover is, as I mentioned, mold inspection. We don't cover that in our general inspection. The second thing, we don't do wood destroying insect. That's a separate inspection. Needs separate license for those services.
And what's something in an inspection report that looks scary, but usually isn't a big deal?
Cracks on the drywall and cracks on the brick veneer. Usually that's a very visual sign that most agent and buyer or seller can visually see. But like I covered earlier, when you see straight lines, straight cracks, it could be just regular minor sediments.
Right.
And even the cracks on a brick veneer, if it's crack along the let's say the motor, those can be just common. It's not necessarily a sign of foundation movement.
Can vouch for whatever we say about the foundation because my house 2 years ago in Houston, there's a big drought during the summer. There was no rain at all. It was so dry, it was so hot, and my side of the wall have this horizontal crack, and I was so worried. And I asked a foundation specialist come out, and they did see some unlevel in the floor in my house, so they put some beams in there. But since they put the beams in there, the cracks start to appear because a normal house, they already settle, and then you disrupt the foundation. So cracks start to appear because I protect my foundation. So it was totally unnecessary. The crack was totally because of the drought of the dry, and I thought it was foundation, and actually there was some uneven flooring, so that's why I did the foundation repair.
Mhm.
I do have the lifetime foundation warranty, so now I have a peace of mind. But then if I go back to that day and I look at the crack, I wouldn't think of it as serious and it seems now my house just have more cracks than it should be, but it is protected. So so thank you for sharing. Um, so the next question is, what's something that seemed minor but actually a major red flag?
See, minor and major red flag, I would say the grading. Okay, just because a lot of people like to plant the trees, the flower bed, around the house or very close to the house. Sometimes people just putting more new mold over the old layer of mold. They keep on stacking up.
Mhm,
Those mold eventually they are gonna get too high, too close to the whip holes on the bottom or the foundation surface. So those areas, if you have high grading or high soil like that, first of all, if there any water, any heavy rain that water cannot, direct to the street, standing water will start to intrude into your house
yeah,
and causing, the bottom of your exterior wall to, get wet and deteriorated. And once your structure is wet and deteriorated for a long time, then now it start attracting, wood destroying insect to your house. So that's one thing. The soil too high is not good, but then when you have the soil too low, or you have some dog digging some hole around the foundation, it's also not good either.
yeah,
The reason is that once the area is low and it's rain and start holding water,
mhm,
and that water collected, and eventually it will cause that soil in that section to expand more than other area. So
yeah,
it expand, and then when it's run out of water, when it becomes drought season, then the expand area, the soil will start collapse. It will
right.
collapse harder than other area. Therefore, have excessive movement in one corner and not the other. That is the reason for.
Mhm. So what you're saying on the inspection report, if you see that there are uneven grading
Mhm.
around the house, we should fix it right away. Otherwise, in the long term, it's gonna cause some foundation issue.
Correct. I mean, it just start with getting a shovel, fixing something about 30 minutes, 1 hour exercise,
Mhm.
and you prevent something could cost you $10,000 repair in the future.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. So how often do you see flip homes hiding significant problems? With flip home, having fresh paint, new flooring, how do we spot problems with our naked eyes?
Oh my God, that is a really good questions. I inspect more than 10 years, but I still finding new stuff to learn from Flipper.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you, they are very creative, but
Mm,
with experienced eyes and training, we were able to spot a lot of deficiency that behind new paint,
mhm.
new siding. You
Right.
know, so what we do is usually I would recommend anyone want to see the defect,
Mhm.
bring a flashlight with you
Yeah.
during showing.
Yes.
The light from the flashlight will tell you, a piece of interior wall being painted over, and you can see water stain, still showing up, even though
Mhm.
it's newly painted.
Mhm.
You can see texture is not evenly, or you
Right.
can see that section of wall is blowing. A,
Mhm.
a flashlight will help you a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, one time I saw a buyer of mine. Actually, the house was inspected by V2. So a buyer of mine, he brought a flashlight to see the ceiling. It was patched, and then he put the flashlight alongside with the ceiling and see the curve, the little curve
Yeah,
down of the patch. And he's like, "This is not a good job on
right,
patching up the ceiling." So that's
right.
a really good point that you brought up. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So would you ever advise a buyer to walk away from a deal? What would trigger that?
It's not my responsibility to advise the client to walk away.
Mhm.
Um, my sole goal when I go to inspection, I find out all the deficiency
Right.
and to be transparent to the clients,
Mhm.
and make sure they understand the situation,
Mhm.
and maybe the agent also understand what's going on, so they can be fully aware of their buying, their investment, and they can talk to their agents and the agent can help them with whichever decision that they make toward the house.
So follow-up question, have you ever seen a house that like has so many problems and you feel like, oh my gosh, in your head, this is a bad deal?
I do see a lot of that because, we not just do new home only. I do very old home, like 1960, 1970, and depend on the area. A lot of home, is come with a lot of problem. They are all correlating with each other. For example, like in the older subdivision, like say they are built in 1970, 1980, when they built it, the developer was not, planned it properly. So all the sewage or water drainage were not done properly, were not planned properly. So therefore, these how you talking about 30 years old home. You're talking about, they have foundation movements because they have poor drainage, and you have 30 years old trees which are very huge, and then they root everywhere. And you're also talking about the drainage. Is the newest one is PVC pipe, but you can go back PVC, then you go to ABS, then sometimes you get some cast iron and even clay drain systems. So from clay, from cast iron to ABS, those are older materials, and they become very brittle. They can break very easily. So just think about is the house have foundations, and then you got big trees. So the foundation move, and then you move excessively, and then your pipe gonna break a little bit, and then the tree will find water. The tree root get into the pipe. So now you got even more water coming out, and foundation is gonna move a lot more. So you got all three of them all together. So you had the foundation problem, you had the tree problem, and you had the sewage problem. So those are the three. I would say, I see quite often in older home. So when we do the inspection, I have to check those three very carefully on older homes.
Very good point. I see a lot of inspection reports, not just from you, but other inspectors too. Sometimes they suggest to have a specialist or more specialists to look at certain things in the house. What does it actually mean? Does it actually mean is something serious happening to the house, or just outside the scope of service that you need another specialist for that?
Right. A lot of time, according to the track standard, we have to recommend additional licensed structural engineer or licensed technician specialist. So those are the area that we are not qualified, or we're not sure what they are, and we think those specialists can give you a better answers or find out a solution for you better. So that's what we recommend to seek for a second opinion from specialists.
Got necessary always mean that, oh, there's this foundation problem, you need a foundation specialist or an electrician coming out or something like that, right?
I would say yes and no by case. Sometimes like the foundation, for us, we're using the computer level. We are trained to spot for different evidence. When we call out foundation, I have pretty good idea if we gonna need repair or not. And then the other items, for example, like you have older home, you have aluminum wires inside your wall. Yes, by the time we inspect it, we have 2 or 3 hour frame. We don't have enough time to open every single receptacle outlet or light switch to check if they will connect or they will repair properly. Therefore, we recommend for the evaluation by a licensed electricians. And for something for AC, what we do visual inspection. Whatever we can see, we put it into the comments. And if the buyer wants to know more extensive repair or extensive replacement of the unit, yes, we do ask for second opinion from a licensed AC technicians.
Got it. So last question for you. What's the one thing that buyers should always do during the inspection, but they usually don't?
What one thing they should do, huh? I think they should show up. Should show up, and then I would recommend show up about half an hour, 1 hour before we finish. Usually our inspection time frame are about 1 hour for every 1,000 square feet. So you have some house at 2,500 square feet, just showed up, 2 hour into our inspections. When you show up there, I mean, the inspector would have like a pretty good idea, about the house, and they wrapping up the inspections. So by then they can give the buyer a really good walkthrough. And the buyer can ask them any questions, and if they know, they will answer. They will point out the evidence. If they don't know, they will take note and do further investigations. So I think just showing up will be a really good idea.
Yeah, Yeah, I always advise my buyer to show up too. It's great to talk to the inspector in person, and sometimes things appear more serious in writing than it should be in
Correct.
person. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, thank you so much for the chat today, V. We have learned so much from you, and everybody, I'm gonna link V's information and Golden Scope for information down in the description below. If you guys have any question at all, feel free to ask us. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to comment and let us know. V, do you have any last thing that you want to add? And can you please talk more about your business, your service?
Sure. I would like to ask is, we are as an inspector, when we do a job, we want to be, most transparent as possible. We want to help you find out all the deficiency on the house. We treated your house, your investment, just like our house, our investment. Especially, a lot of clients have little kids and stuff, so we be extra careful. So I would say, if you're buying a house, give your realtor a chance to negotiate for you the price before and after the inspection, right?
Yeah.
And then also, if you want, give us a chance. We would love to work with you. We would love to inspect for you.
Yes.
And for our business, I can tell you that we are a very proud company. We treat everyone very respectful, and we got a lot of like good feedback and good referral from a lot of our clients, our agents, and we just wish you that when you buy a house and you got a good agent and look for us for be your good inspector. That's
Okay.
all I'm asking for. And thank you very much, you, for having me on your show. I really
Okay.
appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And everybody, that concludes today's interview. Let us know if there anything that you want to hear more next. And we'll see you at the next time. Thank you so much, and bye bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.